Good evening, Toastmasters and guests. That story probably would have been more interesting than what I'm about to share with you. But I remember it as if it happened yesterday. I had climbed into the batter's box, took the bat, and I had stuck it out over home plate, just like the coach had taught me. And I took a couple of practice swings just to get some of the nervous energy out as the coach had taught me. And I got my bat cocked up and ready to hit the ball just like the coach taught me. And I had my eyes laser focused on the pitcher. And so I was up, ready in the stance. And then that pitcher, 5'5", took everything he had, wound up, and he threw that first pitch as hard as he could. I saw the pitch coming, and I took a swing, and somehow that ball managed to miss my bat. And the umpire yelled, "Strike one." The coach from the dugout said, "It's all right, Tim, just keep your eye on the ball, just pay attention, keep your eye on the ball, choke up on the bat." And so I did. I got myself back in that position again, got my elbow up, ready to hit the ball. And this time the pitcher wound up and he let the ball go, and as it came, I made sure that I kept my eye on the ball. In fact, I watched that ball all the way and heard strike two. Now, you're probably thinking at this point in time, I would assume that you're thinking I struck out, right?
Yeah.
So what I want to talk to you tonight before I give you the end of that story is how do you deal with disappointments in life? And I'm not talking about the disappointments that some of you might be feeling, how the Chargers lost to my beloved Steelers last night. or how some of you might feel when you get to the airport and discover that your flight is delayed. I'm talking about the disappointments that really impact your heart. The disappointments that really connect with you emotionally. For example, a young couple that has just learned once again that their opportunity for pregnancy has failed. Or the man who has learned that his boss has betrayed him, believing that the boss was going to go and fight for his promotion. Or the young boy who stands on the stage and he looks out and yet again notices that his parents haven't made it to the performance. That's the kind of disappointment I'm talking about tonight. Imagine, if you will, for just a moment, that look that a deer has just before impact with a car. You know what I'm talking about? That deer in the headlight look where he's just got that blank stare. And he's paralyzed for a moment and wham, he's hit. I think that's what that look looks like for a lot of people who are hit with one series of disappointment after another. And so for just a moment, I want to talk about 3 ways in which I think we can avoid being taken out by disappointments. Because I think we all experience disappointments. They come in a lot of different ways. The first way I want to talk about, for us to overcome, to not be taken out by disappointments, is to protect your heart. The Bible tells us that the heart is the wellspring of life, to protect it. That everything comes out of your heart. And what I think that means in that context is to be real with your emotions. To pay attention to what's happening in your body. When you're feeling certain things, be real, be honest about that. When that happens in those moments, you become human being. You become connected to what it means to be a human and not an android like on Star Trek. So the second thing I want you to think about is you got to battle for your mind. Have you ever noticed that when you have these series of disappointments that come, it becomes very easy to be infected with negative thinking? You know what it's like to be around negative thinking people. They tend to talk sarcastically, cynically, pessimistically. Let me ask you this question. So how well are Californians doing these days in battling for their mind? I think if we look at what happens in those series of disappointments, we can see that it just seems to kind of perpetuate itself. It seems to keep feeding. So what are some ways that we can battle for our minds? Well, we could get up every morning and we could just for a few moments make a list of 5 things that we're grateful for. We can pray to the Holy Spirit that the Holy Spirit would come and lead us to think differently, that we have a different thinking pattern than the one we're currently experiencing, that we would think in a way that no longer conforms to the pattern of this world. The third way that we can overcome these series of disappointments is to check our vision. You know where it says in the Bible that people without a vision will perish. Now, what is it that we're seeing as we look out into the world? Are we seeing a world that's filled with dread and drudgery and darkness? Do we feel like that when we look out at the world, it's one big mistake It's one gigantic disappointment. I want to suggest tonight that if that is the way that we're looking at the world, it most likely is the fruit of us not protecting our hearts and not battling for our mind. So let me take you back to the story. Here I was in the batter's box, I was ready. The third pitch came. I was paying attention, I had stepped up in the box, and I was all prepared to hit the ball. What I wasn't prepared for was to get smacked right in the center of my back. And I fell to the ground, not because of pain, I was in shock. I was so disappointed. I had done everything the coach had told me to do. I had gotten the box. You ever had that in your life where you've done everything that you thought you were supposed to do and still were disappointed? And as I fell to the ground, I got up that day and I learned something very important about disappointment. Disappointment hurts. But you know, if you get up, if you brush yourself off, and you keep running forward, eventually those disappointments will turn into his.